Welcome to the Rival and Queen podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ashley.
And I'm Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
And we're together.
I know. If you are not watching our YouTube video, you wouldn't know that, but we are sitting together at my house.
Literally shoulder by shoulder.
This feels weird. It's been so long.
The last time we did this was maybe in February.
Yeah, it would have been before I went away.
So lovely to see you.
I know. We're so used to all the online.
Up close and personal.
Yeah. I see you up close and personal all the time, but not in this recording scenario.
Last night we even shared a bed.
We did share a bed. We did.
Things are progressing wildly over here.
Yeah. 2 years later, we're sleeping together.
Jeff's listening to this recording. He's probably rolling his eyes right now. He's like, enough of this.
He's used to our shenanigans.
Happy Thursday, everyone.
Happy Thursday.
We love you.
July is flying by. It's
my favorite
crazy.
month.
I know we just celebrated your birthday last weekend, which was phenomenal, Sarah.
It was phenomenal. And I'm going to thank you. And I'm going to thank Katie. And I'm going to thank Jeff. You guys brought a Margaritaville to my house, which is an amazing like margarita machine.
Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville.
Oh, we had the most fun. I had the best birthday ever.
Good. The weather was so hot. It was perfect. And we went tubing.
Tubing, which neither of us had done before. Gaspereau Valley, if you're in Nova Scotia, worth it.
So fun. It was relaxing, fun, kind of got that adventure feel. It was a little bit of everything, a little buzz on. It was great.
I had a great time.
I know. Thank you for being born, Sarah.
Thank you for throwing
That's
me
the
a great
second year in a
birthday
row.
party.
Last year we went to House of Eights and did a dance class, and then this year we did that. So 2 things I've never done before, thanks to you.
Aw, I'm all about the experiential birthdays. I hope you had a great time.
I think that's great. I did.
I love it. And I had a great time. Thank you. You're wonderful.
And we just had a lovely little night away with Kara and Laura. So that was nice. Hence why we slept together. We were at my family cottage.
2 of our friends. Although I thought it was funny to just leave that hanging.
I know. I kind of thought about it. I'm like, what are people going to think? They already think we're crazy.
Yeah, I kind of want to hear what they think, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
we did. We had a great time away. And it was 36 degrees, which if you are not from Atlantic Canada, you might think that's normal, but that's not normal for here.
Do people think that's normal?
I think
I mean,
so.
in the Caribbean, maybe, or in like
in
Europe,
Australia. I think in Toronto it gets that hot in the summer.
Yeah. I guess you're also so inland, but you're by the lakes, but being by
They
the
sweat.
ocean is different. And in a city. Yeah. Very different.
We panicked and left. You actually golfed in the heat, which I thought you were insane, but
Yeah, we did. We called it quits at, I think it was hole 12, because we were just sweating and hot and tired. It mostly just sucked the life out of us. So now we're sitting in our air conditioned space, which is lovely.
I feel zen. Okay, speaking of the summer heat, I just had this idea. I've got some would you rathers that I want to ask you right now about summer.
Is this what you were laughing about earlier?
I was giggling about this because I come up
I'm
with
not
these
going to look at your
ideas.
screen. I'm just going to focus.
I come up with these ideas, guys, and then I won't tell Ashley what they are, and I'm laughing to kill myself. Like they're not that funny, but okay, Ash, I got 3 for you.
Okay.
Would you rather go to the beach but forget your towel, or go to the beach and forget sunscreen?
Probably my towel.
I'm with you.
Because I feel like, unless it's not warm, but you can air dry. And if you wanted to sit down, you could at least sit on your jean shorts or your t-shirt or your dress.
Worst case scenario, you could just roll around in the sand and get all the sand stuck to you if you're wet, and then like sort of brush it off.
No, I would never do that. You would do that. That's a terrible idea.
Just because it'd be funny. All right. Would you rather get stung by... This is very appropriate because yesterday you had a little wasp stinging you.
I did, and I actually did get stung. I have a little bump there.
All right. So you know what this means. So would you rather get stung by 3 bees or get a really bad sunburn?
3 bees at once?
Consecutively, let's say.
I haven't been stung by a bee in a long time, so I don't know. I'm going to say a sunburn because I don't want the bees to die.
Okay. Very nice. I'm surprised that you said that because I thought because of the skin damage, you would be like, I'm going to take the hit with the bees.
But one time, no. I do get sunburned.
Back. Okay. I'm with you. I don't know what I would do. I would probably take, I've never had a bee sting, so I'm afraid of the pain
and then
of
they
that.
die. Like the 3 of them would die.
And I'm very big into saving the bees right now.
Exactly.
So you're right.
We love honey.
We're 2 for 2 right now. I think the same answer. All right. You ready for this one? This is what I was dying laughing at.
Okay.
Would you rather have to go on a long hike in the woods without any shoes or socks, or have to spend the day at the beach wearing your winter coat?
Okay. That's ridiculous. Definitely say the first one again fully.
Would you rather go on a long hike in the woods? Let's say it's 4
With no
hours.
socks.
Or shoes.
Oh, no. I thought it was just no socks in my shoes is what I was picturing. Oh, I would never do that. Both of them are terrible. I would probably pick the jacket at the beach. Only because I hate being cold. So, I mean, maybe there's a chill in the air that day and I can put my coat on to stay warm.
No, it's hot. It's like the other day when it was 36.
Do you want me to die? I would die.
I know I would die. I'm definitely going in for a hike in the woods.
But maybe I could swim. I could go in the water with my coat on and that would cool me down.
Or drown you.
No, I'm a good swimmer. We did that actually in lifeguard training. You had to go and like save people full with their clothes on and pull them out with your clothes on.
Okay. Well, are you a lifeguard?
I didn't do the practical hours maybe to be one, but I could, not now, but then technically yes.
Okay, girl. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all my interruptive questions I had for you today.
I love them. I love your questions.
I did have one other oh my God, I have a question to ask you, but before I think we should talk about this. What? Right now we're recording this, it's Wednesday night, but this episode will be out Thursday and I will be on a plane.
Yes.
When this episode comes out.
Talking about this. First time since when? February or
March
January?
6th. I got like one of the last weekends.
Oh, yes.
Because I went skiing and then came back. And I think, it was March 6th or 9th or something like that.
Yeah, because I got home March 14th and then I isolated and you were home before me. So early March.
4.5 months since I've been on a plane. I'm actually like...
That's a long time.
I don't know what to expect. Like, I don't know if I should go to the airport earlier or with less... Well, surely I can't go with less time than I normally go.
And yeah, you're obviously taking a carry-on.
Yeah. I usually go to the airport about 45 minutes before, which is not... I would
go like an hour and a half before.
What?
Maybe.
I was just going to go an hour. I thought.
What if they really have people spread out and it's taking longer through?
I have Nexus. They can't take my Nexus away, can they?
I don't know. We don't know.
Maybe
an hour. Go an hour.
So
before.
The reason why I don't want to go earlier is because I think when I'm in the airport, I have to wear the mask the whole time. So I don't want to be in there for like an hour and a half sitting about with a mask on.
You can meditate with the mask on.
Sure.
All
right. I'll go an hour and a half.
I know. I wonder if any of the food places would be open or anything.
No, I'm going no food.
Okay, take a book, listen to our podcast. It's fine.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
But definitely wash those hands.
All right, I have one very serious question for you. It's not serious, but like it's a true question. Okay. In this episode, which we will talk about in a moment, we actually talk about where people find inspiration. And Ashley, I would love to know from you, what are your sources of inspiration right now and why?
Wow, that is a serious question.
Mine just came to me as I was asking you.
Really? So are you talking about just with anything, any more context or work or like...
Anything in life that is inspiring you right now, that is lighting you up, that you're like, oh my God, yes.
I don't know. Is that bad?
That's not bad. Okay, let me tell you mine because it came to me.
Because I don't know how deep. Yeah, you go first.
It came to me as I was asking you this question. And like, yeah, this isn't going to be like, I don't know. My source of inspiration right now is when we were on the boat. Oh, this is going to go deep now. Get ready, everyone. Yesterday, and I do this a lot. Like we were pulling away from the beach on the boat and the water's so crystal clear and I'm looking down at it. And like for me in that moment, the only thing my soul wants is to dive into the water.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
we said that, I think. I said, how bad do you want to dive in there? And you were dead serious that you did.
I was debating. I was like, do I just jump off the boat and upset Bill? Like I was like literally like my soul was just calling me. So that is a source of inspiration for me because it's just like a hit of like energy, inspiration, joy, connectivity. Yeah. It's like my soul's rejuvenated. I could journal for an hour. I could have like, I feel connected into everything in life. Like my heart is happy. I will tell you something I learned this week, and I think this is connected, is I had a human design call. Right. And she told me, I'm learning about human design, guys. We're going to have an episode because like, I want everyone to know about this. But she told me for my human design, places are very important to me. And actually shores are one of the places that are like, that's like where I'm meant to be, or is that like shores and like, yeah.
A medium told me that once too, that I need to, if I need answers, then if I go to the water, specifically the ocean, that I would get the answers that I need. But I don't do that. So maybe if I did, it would be helpful. But when you say that now, I'm thinking, okay, do you know what really rejuvenated me the other day? And I need to go back because I don't feel rejuvenated today, was the Nordic Spa in Chester. Jeff actually laughed and was happy that I was so happy, because he's like, you're smiling from ear to ear the entire time. Because you just are detached from, let's say, your phone or your computer, and you have no choice but to just enjoy the view, and the lake is lovely, and just be like a kid in a weird way. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, I have fallen asleep at so many Nordic spas, so I'm with you, girl.
I was a zombie after. Like, I was drained.
Yeah, that is like beautiful. You get to that like blissful state of tired where you just have to like give up and surrender, and you just like are life.
And also, you're thinking, well, what do I have to do in the next hour? I could just go to the sauna and then back to the hammock. Like, that's your only decision, where you want to go on the property.
So for both of us right now, we're getting sources of inspiration from the water. I'm also...
And just downtime. I think just that, like...
Rest.
Yeah. Very, I don't know, nature.
Beautiful. Oh my God, my heart. I'm lit up when you're saying that. Like, I'm so... Anyways, we're going to have to get off this topic because I'm so into this.
Even in the valley the other day, I felt so happy.
Oh,
We
were in the water again.
Oh.
That's why. Okay, the water. This is where
I
our
need
inspiration comes from. Also, though, I don't think it would work the same, but maybe it would for you. I don't think it would for me. I'm also getting source of inspiration from, I'm reading Ernest Hemingway books for some reason. And they're like really, I'm liking his writing. Like, he's like dour. People are interesting. I love it. Anyways.
But I have to say, the pool for me is just fun, and I don't know how to explain that.
And splash around.
I just don't feel like I'm going to be having a house by the ocean right away. So that would be like my mini
You get the pool.
ocean.
I'll be in the woods by the ocean.
Okay. I'll get a pool in the woods.
We'll
by the
timeshare.
ocean. We'll figure it out.
We'll share a bed.
Yeah. Any day.
Just gonna kill us. All right, Ash, who do we have on today?
We have Caley, the loveliest person. She's so beautiful and so talented. And we actually kind of just met her through social media, which
Through
she
Instagram.
is amazing at. That's actually part of her career.
Yeah, so we had Caley Dimmock on today, guys, and she is the owner and creator of the Dimmock Creative Group. And she also, one of the things that we learned in this episode is what a social media influencer is. And because she has a influential brand on
And a big following.
a huge following. So, and I say that with like, we actually kind of laugh about in the episode with Caley. Like, it's like we hear about social media influencers, and I'm always kind of like eye roll a bit, but I'm like, okay, someone just tell me what this is.
Yeah. No, she put it really, really perfectly.
Yeah, it was a fantastic episode. So we got, we really learned about Caley's journey into entrepreneurship. She was working in an agency before. She wasn't really loving her life. And so she was able to actually make that jump. And in 1 to 2 months, basically her salary was higher than it was when she was in her job. But she really talks about, the reflection that she went through to make that decision to become an entrepreneur, how she uses fear as a growth mechanism. I feel like you were really vibing on that.
Yeah, and really just creating the career that she wanted to for herself, which I feel like a lot of people, especially at our age, are in that kind of transition of, is this my forever, or do I want to start some? It's a big leap. So kudos to Caley for really creating the career and the kind of like vision she had with her business for herself.
Yeah, she's created an incredible business and a great little brand. And, we love hearing these stories. They warm our heart.
Yeah, and she's a busy lady. She does all the photography and the videography and the marketing and social media, so many things. And she's got a little team. So she's a boss lady.
She's a badass.
She's a badass.
We love it. One cool thing she has done for the R&Q community, we love you guys, she put together a freelance guide. So for anyone who's looking to start freelancing and how to get started, you can go to CaleyDimmock.com/freelancer guide. We'll put that in the show notes for you. Great little piece.
Great guidelines.
Love it. And if you do want to connect with her, you can find her on Instagram at CJDimmock and on her website, CaleyDimmock.com. All of that's in the show notes.
check her out. She is very talented.
Ash, shall we dive into this episode?
I think we should.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. She is best known as a talented business and marketing coach, photographer, brand designer, and much more. Really just an overall social media influencer. So welcome, Caley. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to see your face and have you join us in a fun discussion tonight.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to dive in.
This is awesome. I'm so stoked because I know nothing. Okay. Ashley's going to kill me. She's got a full plan, I'm sure. So, and for some reason, I'm just diving in already.
Dive in, Sarah.
Ashley, do you have a plan? You can follow your plan.
This is exciting. I like watching this.
Are we entertaining?
Yeah.
We're so excited. How have you been doing? Like, how is I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, because I'm just so curious about what you do. And Sarah and I are trying to kind of do a lot of this marketing and social media stuff, but you're an expert. So tell us kind of what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So my business is kind of split up into a few different parts. The main one is like an agency model. So myself and my small team, we run marketing and creative services for clients, a lot of digital advertising, Facebook ads, Google ads, brand photography. Typically the photography is for the advertising. We also do social media management, that sort of stuff. And then another aspect of what I do is more focused on my personal brand. So that would be more like educating. I have an online course about how to build a personal brand on Instagram. I do a lot of coaching, so one-on-one stuff, generally typically it's other women who want to work for themselves or are trying to build up a business. And then I also do some speaking workshops in person, that sort of thing. I have a popular photography workshop that I run in Vancouver and just recently ran in Halifax for the first time before all of this COVID stuff. And then lastly is kind of the influencer part. I'm not a big fan of that word just because of the connotation that it's had.
That's what I wanted to ask you. I was like,
no, it's all good. It's all good because like, what else are you supposed to say, right? I was even playing with this myself because I'm currently writing a pricing strategy guide. And one of the services that I want to include in there is like social media content creator. But then I'm like, that gets confused with photographer. And I just wrote influencer. And then anyway, so that whole side of it, which I don't mind being called an influencer. I just wish that the general population would kind of change the meaning of that. Like if you're influencing people to do good and to do better things in the world, that's amazing. Anyway, putting that aside, I do have a bit of a following on social media. And from time to time, I do brand partnerships with brands who I really respect and brands that I have established relationships with. And so that is the additional part of my business as well. So it's kind of a 3-tiered thing.
I love that. We're so excited.
Sarah and I feel the same way about the name, like the title influencer.
I think though, like to be fair, it's just like people are sort of at a point where they understand what it means now. Even though if they don't really understand what it means, they can at least be like, I feel like I have some understanding of what you do.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's just become this universal term, and I think it's gotten a lot of negative connotation, but honestly, all of that is deserved. There's been a lot of scamming, a lot of really wild stuff that's happened in that space, and a lot of people who have authority who honestly shouldn't. So I completely understand why it's gotten that meaning behind it. And at the same time, like, it's interesting to me. So when people call me a social media influencer, because that's actually like the smallest part of what I do. Like I very rarely partner with brands, and it's definitely by far my smallest income source. But you're so right. It's like when you say that, there's a universal meaning and understanding of what it is. So.
And I'm like, what is actually a social media influencer? Like in my mind, I have some idea. That's why when Ashley said it, I was like, I just want to ask you, like, what does this really mean? Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, what does it mean to you guys? What do you think it means?
I think it means someone with a following. I have 2 ideas. Sorry, Ashley, I'm just going.
No, I want to know what you're going to say.
None of them are perfect. No, they're fine. So I think it's someone with a following who has the ability to influence that following. People are looking at them and following their content. So they've done a good job at creating an audience. And then the second part of that, I think, is a lot of the time they're doing advertising through their own content. However, I think, and that can be like where you see people are just being paid to do things. And sometimes they are aligned, but sometimes people don't have that consciousness to actually think about, is this something I truly believe in? Is this brand what I'm behind? I think we're seeing more so now, which is actually great, is a lot of people using it to leverage their business and grow their own businesses, which dope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's like the new PR.
Yeah. I mean, and it all makes sense, right? I think you kind of said it there. You said that some people just don't put a lot of thought into the brands that they're partnering with or what they're doing. And on the other hand, some people really do. And so that also makes it really hard on the marketing side, because I'm on the other side of this too, right? Like I run influencer programs for companies sometimes, or I hold influencer events. And you'd be surprised, you know, some of the people who have massive followings actually have no influence. People actually are not influenced by them to take action. And some people with really small followings, people really trust. And that's what it's really about. It's about trust. And so if you're an influencer and you're not paying really close attention to what brands you're taking on, and you're just taking on absolutely everything that comes your way, that trust tends to go down, because people think, how can she or he really feel that amazing about these 30 different products, right? So I think that's where it kind of gets lost. And also another side of that too is, I think there's people who do that as their only income source. And with that comes a lot of pressure, right? You're naturally going to accept more brand deals if that's your position, as opposed to having multiple income streams where you can be a little bit more picky. So for me, if that was my only income stream, you might see me promoting a lot more stuff than I currently do.
That makes
cool.
sense. So how did
That's
you?
helpful.
That's good. I'm glad.
I'm just feeling like, okay, there's like high fidelity influencers out there, and that's what we're into.
Fair.
I like that.
I love that.
The trust is there.
How did you, I guess, start to build the following that you do have on social media? Was that through, like you mentioned, that you do a lot of speaking and offer courses? Did that just happen naturally through clients and things like that?
Yeah, so my following, I actually started to build it on Instagram. I think I started to take it seriously only in 2016. I actually remember the moment I decided to try to do it, because I was sitting, I was traveling with my boyfriend at the time when we were in Costa Rica, and we were sitting on the bed of this like really, really disgusting hotel, like super dirty, super loud, paper thin
Dope.
walls. Yeah, like I was not having a good time. I really like my peace and quiet. I am actually an introvert. And I was sitting there and I was on Instagram, and I just remember looking at it. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but I just thought, people must be getting something out of this. Like, is there something I'm missing here? Like, people seem to be getting opportunities or paid or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next thought was, well, I have all those skills. Like, I know how to take photos. I know how to write. So like, why don't I give it a shot? And to be honest, when I first started, it was just a challenge for myself. I think in that moment, like I had around 2,000 followers when that happened. And I sat there and I looked up at my partner and I said, I'm going to have 10,000 followers by the end of this year, like in 1 year from now. And I just really dedicated myself to it. And I finished out that year with 13,000 followers, which like blew my mind, but I had just really reverse engineered it. And I'm not going to lie, when I first started out, I was just paying attention to like what would do really well on Instagram, you know? So it didn't feel completely authentic to me at times. I had fun with it, you know, some of the photos, and I did a lot of like product flat lays and stuff. And I remember I was making videos on like my favorite smoothie and stuff like that, which is
amazing.
Fun. You know,
the classic.
Yeah, like nothing against that, but I was just really like looking at what everybody else was doing, and then a really heavy focus on engagement, and it worked. And then as my following grew, I started to feel a little bit more strange about it all. I was like, this isn't really adding up. I'm not actually getting what I want out of this. And for my entire life, my goal was to work for myself. And so then I kind of pivoted, and I was working a 9 to 5 at the time in digital media as a brand and marketing manager at a pretty well-known company in Vancouver. And I knew that I wanted to work for myself. So I started pivoting my content a bit, and I started talking about freelancing a bit, and I started talking about travel more and really focusing on that. And then when I finally took the leap and quit my day job, that's when everything really pivoted for me. And almost exclusively all I spoke about for the next year or two was just traveling and working for yourself and being your own boss. So that's really how it happened. And marketing tips, that kind of stuff too.
So cool. I think, and like you bring something up. One of the reasons why we were so excited to have you on, we've been very much on like a kick of people who have interesting lives and like have like created love, like basically a life that they wanted. And when we chatted with you, like you said, you had been working in a job, you weren't feeling satisfied, you wanted something else, and you figured out how to do that. And we've been not for some reason. I mean, I think it's fascinating all the time, but we've been very much on this kick right now. And I think maybe it's because everyone's at home during this COVID, like people are rethinking what they're doing and what their jobs look like, all of these sort of things. We've kind of been put on pause a little bit. And maybe that's why this is so interesting to us at this moment. But it's certainly one of the reasons we wanted to have you on here, was to learn a bit more about how did you go from when you were in that job, like what made you start thinking of something else?
Yeah. So for me, it's interesting because it wasn't like I had this one pivotal moment where I was like, oh, I need to work for myself. That was always my goal. Like even since I was 4 years old, like when I was 4 years old, I used to take items from around my parents' house and I used to lay them out like on my bed and my floor in the bedroom. And if any of my cousins or friends were over, I would invite them into my bedroom to my yard sale.
Amazing.
I love that.
Sell them the things. And then it was, I don't know why I'm like that, or it's just always been like that. When I was 12, I made jewelry with a friend. We set up at the Truro flea market like every Sunday and tried to sell it. Nobody ever bought anything, and that was fine. And then, when I was 13, I started making pillows. I got a sewing machine. I started making pillows for girls in school, and I made like custom pillows. And then that turned into like custom tote bags and all kinds of other stuff through high school. And then that turned into photography and graphic design. There was always something. Like that's been the one constant for me, is just that I really do enjoy working for myself and everything that comes with it. So when it comes to the day job that I was in, and it's interesting because if my former boss listens to this, he might find this interesting. It's cool though, because we're friends, so it's fine.
Honesty is important.
Yeah. So basically in February, March of 2017, there's a few different steps that really led up to me finally taking that plunge. And all this time too, I'd been building out my social media presence, so that was helping a lot. I was getting requests on the side. I was freelancing on the side already. But then February, March of 2017, I took a trip to Bali, and I was in Canggu, and these two girls messaged me on Instagram. They're called the Bucket List Bombshells. And they just messaged me and was like, hey, like, we love your account. We were interested to see like if you want to grab a smoothie or something sometime. And I didn't really fully understand what it was that they did. It said that they were helping people build online businesses. And I was just like, yeah, you guys seem cool. And I sat down with these two women they were even younger than me at the time. And they're like, so what's your plan? And I'm like, what? Like, I just met you. And then I was like, I want to teach workshops like in person. And they're like, Caley, you need to teach online. And I was like, okay. And then they're like, Caley, you need to quit your job. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. And then I was like, these two girls who I just met. Anyway, and then the rest of that trip, it was just, you really, when you get to live it, right? So I was just working anyway from my laptop, working on my own stuff. I was blogging a lot about marketing and Instagram at the time, and it just felt really good. And then when I came back from that trip, it so happened that my place of work was moving offices, but the new office was under renovation and the old office lease was up. So nobody was allowed to work from the new office. So I got to work from cafes for like 3-4 weeks. And I loved it. I was like, this feels amazing. And this is what I want. I want to be able to have this freedom. And then the final push was when I went back into the office, and it felt terrible. I was walking to the SkyTrain one day. This was in Vancouver. And I called my dad, who had never really been supportive of working for yourself or any risk for that matter. I come from a very, a family that's has a very low risk tolerance overall. And I called him up and I was like, Dad, I finally want to do this. I don't have a mortgage. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't know if I'm ever going to have fewer responsibilities. I don't know if there's ever going to be, but I was just like amping it up. I was like, really like, I got to sell him. Like, this is the time to convince him, right? And he just said, yeah, you're right. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I wasn't expecting to hear that. And
you have like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, like I'm like,
ready to show.
Like I have to convince him, you know? And he was like, yeah, you're right. And I handed in my notice the next day. So, yeah.
Amazing.
It seems like it came so naturally to you. And it's just hilarious that these two strangers kind of gave you that, like, I don't know, solid push to be like, okay, this is something I could actually do. And yeah, it's super cool. I feel like trips help with things like that too, just to like clear your head and get a fresh perspective on what you might want to do when you get home.
Absolutely. For me, every time I travel, I feel more myself and I feel more connected. And I think it's just removing yourself from that constant environment that does that. Anytime I feel like my brain is racing or I need some clarity, like, you know, hop in the car, go for a drive, or when we're allowed to travel, I might hop on a plane and go to California or whatever, you know. My best ideas and my highest level of clarity always comes when I'm not at home. So
yeah, you have the freedom to kind of be whoever you want to be when there's no expectations around you.
Yeah, exactly. And just throwing yourself out of your routine too. Because it's interesting because I think when we're in our constant environments and in our routines, we naturally do things out of habit. But when you're completely taken out of your normal environment and all of your habits, and you just try to observe yourself and what it is you're actually doing, then I think those are really good clues, right? If you're taken out of everything and you're on vacation, like there's no pressure or whatever, what are you choosing to spend your time doing? That's usually a really good clue.
Very cool. Sarah, where's your head going right now?
I'm just like, how do I make my life a boat?
Sarah loves boating
living
and
on a
wants to
boat.
live on a boat.
No, that's totally my motivation right now. 6 weeks a year.
Amazing.
That's not a lot. Anyways.
That sounds fantastic.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Put it out there. And I also really love, like Sarah mentioned, this time of COVID and people being able to think about what they want to do and maybe reinvent themselves. And I've actually seen a good friend I grew up with, like she made an Instagram account and kind of has her own little niche. And there's so many people doing it. And I just respect them because even Sarah and I doing what we do, which is we just make it up as we go for the podcast as far as like social media stuff, but it's not easy and it does take a lot of planning and time to put into it. So like kudos to anyone out there that's trying to find an audience that matches whatever they want to speak to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to pipe up here for one moment that I do all the time anyways. I have nothing to do with our social media other than the stories. I will do nonstop stories every day. But Ashley,
good at stories.
That's all you. So good job, Ash.
But I mean, like trying to balance my full-time job and then like think about other things creatively and differently and trying to be different than other podcasts or other people on there. It's not easy. It really isn't. So, and respect to you for building kind of what you've built and having that platform that you can speak from now too. It's really awesome.
Thank you. And for the record, I really like your Instagram. I think you do a good job.
Good job, Ashley.
Thanks. Yeah. But I mean, like we could put more time and effort into it, but it is something you actually, if you commit, which we do commit to doing so much, but committing and plan. Sorry, if I commit to doing it, you actually have to really think and plan. And there are a lot of good tools out there, but is that something that you kind of take on for your clients when you do that, is actually plan those things with them or for them?
Yeah, so I like clients who give me a lot of control and autonomy. I don't want to work with clients who, basically, when I'm onboarding a client, I usually ask them this question. I ask them, is this a time issue or is this an expertise issue? If they say it's solely a time issue and they feel like they really know what they're doing, they know what to do, they're not an ideal client for me. because I feel like I know what I'm doing and I want to do it.
Mm.
You know, I don't want to be micromanaged. So generally the clients that I end up taking on, me and my team, we end up strategizing on the content. So we meet, we do a content plan, we do content pillars. So deciding what different types of categories of content do we want to put out in order to hit these goals, in order to hit our messaging goals, in order to attract the audience that we want to attract. We'll then go back to the client and we'll say, this is what we want to do. This is why. This is why you should have each of these different kinds of posts. Do you agree? Uh, I would say they always agree, like pretty much. I think if you really know what you're doing and you have results to show for it, very few people are going to go like, no, unless again, they fell into that category of person that I mentioned where they already think that they're the expert. In which case, if a client thinks that they're the expert, I just tell them you can hire somebody for way less if you're just going to tell them what to do, because then they're just executing. Then it's a time thing, right? So
Totally.
yeah.
So when you took the leap and left your job in Vancouver, did you know you were working at a marketing agency? Did you know what you were doing then? Did you just start with the freelancing? How did it grow into, like you said, you have courses now, you do photography, you speak. How did it go from out the door to today?
Yeah, so before I left, so it was a media company. It was a digital publisher. So like, it's, I don't know if you've heard of them or not because you don't have a presence here, but it's called Daily Hive. They're in Vancouver, Calgary, Montreal, Toronto now. They're also launching into the States. But when I was there, when I first started, it's called Vancity Buzz. And while I was there, I was getting inquiries already, and I was doing some work on the side. I was doing little design gigs, I was doing marketing consultations, I was doing photography work. And from that, I was also looking at all my formal work experience as well. I had led a rebrand. I led the rebrand actually from Vancity Buzz to Daily Hive, and that was a massive undertaking, but it was amazing for my resume, and that helped me a lot too. So having prior experience, I think that's huge. You have to polish your skills up. You know, you can't expect to be the best or to be booked out fully if you don't actually have the experience. So for me, that helped a lot with my confidence. That being said, I was still terrified. I don't think I slept. Like the 2 weeks between when I gave my notice and when I actually left, I really don't think I slept. I was a zombie. I constantly felt like I was going to throw up. And I mean, I deal with anxiety anyway. So that was like really beyond. And I remember my first week, I was like cold emailing like everybody that I could think of and just getting shut down and shut down and shut down. And then slowly but surely, I started to get clients. I shouldn't even say slowly because actually my first month, my first month on my own, I surpassed my monthly income from my 9 to 5.
Wow.
But
That's dope.
yeah, the links just start happening. And primarily it was actually through Instagram to start is where I got most of my clients. So Instagram helped me so much. Actually, my biggest client when I first started out messaged me and was like, hey, we were just in Bali at this hotel, Bisma 8. We just happened to be on Instagram. We saw one of your photos. Our company's looking for somebody who does what you do. Can we meet? This person happened to be in Vancouver as well. It blew my mind how it happened. And they became my biggest retainer client at the time. So it was strange. It was like everything just really, really, really aligned for me. And when it comes to the speaking and that sort of stuff, I just started getting asked. I think at the time, 3 years ago, I think it was a little bit less typical for people to be getting so many clients through Instagram. And, you know, I wasn't doing a lot of outreach after the first month. It was just constant influx of clients coming in. And at the same time, my following was still growing. When I started out on my own, I think I had a following of about 15,000. So it was still steadily growing and people were seeing that too. So I was
still
mostly
so
getting
many people.
Sorry.
That's still so many people. Like just 15,000
I mean,
people.
yes, it's a lot, but I mean, it's just, you know, it hasn't been growing as much recently, and just at that time it was still growing. So I was mostly getting asked to speak about Instagram actually and social media, and using social media as a means to be able to work for yourself or promote your business. So that's kind of how that speaking came about.
Very
I
cool.
love that. That's so cool.
So really, Caley, I guess like what can you recommend to people out there that are kind of in that spot that you were wanting to even just take a risk to start a business on their own. Like what can you kind of say to motivate people to maybe take that step?
Or start exploring.
Yeah. Or maybe, yeah, think it out first at least.
Yeah, so I know that the one question I ended up asking myself that really helped me to finally take the step, aside from getting the reassurance, from my dad that I really wanted, but I asked myself, what was the worst thing that could possibly happen if this didn't go well? I played out that scenario. And again, I didn't have a mortgage, wasn't married, no kids. I basically was just like, you know what? The worst thing that could happen is that I'd have to get another job.
Hmm.
And I was in demand. I was
Totally.
actually, people were headhunting me from my other job. So that didn't, to me, that didn't really, it didn't make any sense anymore. I was like, what, why am I
Mm.
scared? You know what I mean? So I think, and it is a fair question though, if you do have a lot of expenses, if you do have a family to take care of, if you do have other responsibilities, you do have to weigh those. It's not going to be as easy a decision if I had 3 kids and, a ton of expenses and I had to pay for all them in sports. And, I also have a husband whose job is maybe not super secure or whatever the scenario is, that's a different case, right? Um, so if you're lucky enough to be in a situation like I was in when I left, literally the only thing holding yourself back is you. I
Hmm.
know in
Mm.
Halifax, the job market isn't as wild as Vancouver, but there's always going to be jobs. There's always going to be jobs that you can get. Um, you know, Even right now, there's things you can do. There's always a solution. And I firmly believe in looking at the possibilities. So if the worst case scenario to you isn't that bad, then make that leap. And if the worst case scenario is really bad, there's other things you can do too. I also had savings. I saved. I worked hard and I saved up for a while. And I recommend, if you don't have a ton of responsibilities and maybe you're just looking out for yourself, 3 months of savings. If you have other responsibilities, I think having 6 months to live off of is really ideal if you can do that. Um, but I also firmly believe that if you believe it's going to work out, it's going to work out. My
Yeah.
life has shown me that over and over and over and over again. You will constantly be rewarded for taking the risks.
Totally. And I think that actually is such a good reminder to weigh kind of that worst case scenario. I know when I started my company, that was one of the things I've forgotten about this, to be honest, but just when you said that, like I had no student debt when I came out of university. And honestly, at one point, I was like, the worst thing that's going to happen, I didn't even have that much savings at the time. I was like, I'll have the equivalent debt that like most people have student loans. And
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not going to be any worse off than like everyone else in the world.
it's a great
Um,
perspective.
but yeah, it was enough to make me think like, let's go after it. I will caveat it all turned out fine.
Yeah, I
But
love that. I
it
love.
is it's nice to kind of put it in that perspective of that way of like, even if this doesn't work out, well, you can get another job or what really is going to happen here.
Yeah, or you can make sacrifices too. That's another thing that I asked myself is, I was living in Vancouver at the time. I actually paid less for rent in Vancouver than I do here, which is mind blowing. But I asked myself a few other things too. I was like, if it came to it, am I willing to move to get a cheaper apartment? Am I willing to give up cable? Am I willing to give up eating out? Am I willing to? And my desire to work for myself was so strong that my answer to every single question I asked in regards to sacrificing other things was yes. I was willing to do anything to make it happen. And that's another signal. If you're really willing to give up aspects of your lifestyle to make something happen, that's a really good indicator that you should just go for it because you
Mm.
have that drive and you have that passion, and passion always wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that it's the type of thing that you will regret not doing it more than having done it, right? So whatever you do and learn in whatever direction that might lead you, but if you let 5 years, 10 years go by and you wished you had done something, like that's not a good way to live. And I know Sarah and I are both entrepreneurs. We've always wanted to work for ourselves, and that's just something I think when you have that in you and you just know where you want to go, you'll do whatever you have to do in order to take each step but it is scary. But I think that some people can just take it on, and other people like the security, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you have a job that you feel comfortable in and it still fulfills you and you have a family to provide for, but none of us have, well, I don't know, Caley, you might have kids, but Sarah and I
I
do
don't
not
have
have
kids.
kids. So we are fortunate, I guess, that we can take a little more risks, let's
Mhm.
say, right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's different stages of your life that you're being called to entrepreneurship, and other times
Yeah. That's
you're
very
not.
true. And I know for me, I honestly always wished that I didn't want to work for myself. That was something I struggled with for a long time. I used to sit there and think, I really wish that I wanted to be a nurse.
Just be normal.
I used to really, really wish for that. I'm like, why can't I just be happy wanting this? Like everybody else seems to want that. Why can't I just want that? And I fought that. I mean, I fought it for like 10 years until I realized I was never going to win that fight.
I hear you. My parents always, my mom actually, and I had a discussion about this the other day. She said, I used to always, and especially your father, say, you would be such a great teacher. You're really good with kids. You should be a teacher. And no shade on all my teacher friends out there, but I was like, hell no, I don't want to be a teacher. Like, I felt like that would just be so, I wouldn't be able to be creative and kind of create, but you're right. It would have been maybe, I don't want to say an easier route because I don't think being a teacher is easy, but it would have been a totally different route. And you can kind of see what's going to happen year after year, where when you're on your own or being an entrepreneur, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week sometimes. So I like the risky feeling. I don't know
Yeah.
about you guys, but that's kind of what like fires me
Yeah.
up.
I love it. I love risk. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I love that kind of stuff. But it's interesting what you said there about, a teacher maybe not being like an easier job, but I think what you're alluding to is more predictable. And I look at teachers and nurses and I have so much respect for them because I could not do what they do. Like I actually know
No,
that. Like I'm not good in hospitals. I'm not good in medical settings. I couldn't do what they do. Thank God we have people like that. Could I deal with 30 children for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week? No, I couldn't. I don't know how they do it. I have no idea. It blows my mind. I'm like, how do you go home at the end of the day and still have the energy to even speak? I don't know, maybe they don't, but I assume they do because there's a lot of people who are teachers. So, I'm very grateful that there's so many people who are in those jobs and who are very happy. And I think our society needs that. And I think that something that's happened, especially in the last 5 years, is I think there's almost become this glorification of entrepreneurship and glorification of building a business and working for yourself, which is cool in one sense because before that was so frowned upon. But in another sense, I think that there's maybe people out there, or, I've had people come to me who feel like they're not doing enough because they don't have a business or they're not working for themselves. And it's like, these people are already doing so much. They're filling such crucial roles in society and the economy.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. There has been certainly a glorification. I think we're moving away from it a little bit, but I could be totally off base on that. But there has been definitely a glorification of entrepreneurship. You see it a lot in the startup scene. Again, I think it's like that idea of like off at your office today or and like everyone working from the beach. Like that's cool. It is actually very impractical to work from the beach on a laptop.
Wow.
It's a terrible idea. It
I've
gets
never
hot.
done that.
No, it's just like, but I think it is this like beautiful, it's this idea you see on Instagram a lot of like, my office today is here. And like, I do want to live on a boat and work on a boat sometimes. Do I want to work on a boat every day of the year? Absolutely not. Like that would not be productive or how I wanted to live. But I think that kind of makes it seem sexy. And sometimes people think, it's really accessible, or that what you're saying, like they should have a business too. They're not doing enough because everyone else around them is doing something.
Yeah. And even within the entrepreneurial community, the glorification of busy is one that I personally can't stand, people who say sleep, what is this? Sleep when you're dead? What? No.
Hell no.
Like life is about so much more than business and making money and working. Even if you are super passionate about what you do, like that's not what life is truly all about. And so that's one aspect that like I love Gary Vee, but at the same time, some of the things he says, I'm like, oh, like I get it. Like, yeah, you got to hustle. You do. You have to hustle hard. But you can't give up every other aspect of your life. I believe that in order to be successful, truly successful and happy in one area, you have to be happy and successful in multiple areas. I don't think that these things happen in silos, or else you, like we were talking about regret, you wake up 10 years later and you have regrets about other areas. So
How did you start to unpack that idea? Because I love this topic. I think it's something I, to be honest, I think it's something that women realize before men do. And
yeah,
like men kind of put it off and ignore it. I don't know why that is. Ashley, you know, I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. Like I'm super fascinated on kind of
yeah.
ideas like this, where why do we obsess over things like hustling, working 24/7? You're like, this is actually how I create my worst work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think this is a very deep topic, because a lot of those beliefs actually can come from childhood, or they can come from societal biases towards gender, for example. So, you know, with men, there's this different perception of what a successful man is, right? And for some reason in society, it's been more acceptable and valuable for a man to work, you know, 12-hour days than it has been for a woman to. And so I think there's a lot of deeply ingrained societal stuff that comes with that. And then on the other side too, so the workaholic thing, and I know this has actually been a thing in my life that I've had to unpack, as you said. So I feel like when I was growing up, I got most of my attention from my parents, caregivers, teachers, you know, any sort of attachment in my life. I got the most praise and attention for when I achieved.
Mm.
And when you learn that as a child, if you learn that that's how you get love, then that's what you learn your value is based on. And that can lead to being successful and driven, but it can also it can create really unhealthy habits, and a perception of I'm only worthy if I'm achieving, I'm only worthy if I'm working 12 hours, you know? So I think it's a very deep topic. I feel like we could talk about that for like hours on its own.
Well, it's nice to know kind of your stance on it. Here's a better question, maybe, before we unpack the associations of workaholics.
Yeah, I gotta be careful what I say here.
We won't have, no, I think it's a personal journey where there's times when we work more, there's times when we need rest and things like that. But I think recognizing that is actually just the empowering piece.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
just hate when people talk about it so much sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's like a competition of, oh, I'm working all the time. Or are you so busy? What have you been up to? And I don't really like to talk about stuff like that. I actually hate when, especially in the startup community, people just approach you and they're like, how are things going? They just want to get into how much they've been working so that they can ensure that you're measuring up to what they're doing. And it's just like a weird conversation. It always makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like when people ask, you know, how are you? And a common answer now is, oh, busy, or I've just been really busy. Like that doesn't actually, that's your schedule. That's like not how you actually are. And to be honest, if you're constantly replying with, I'm so busy, I feel like you're not doing something right. And I feel like we've made that a really normal and acceptable and almost praised answer in society, when really I feel like it doesn't really address the question being asked, but it's become the norm. It's so strange to me.
Yeah, I hate when people say that. I'm just going to put that on the record. I absolutely hate when people say that, because I know so many people, and one of my sister-in-laws is coming to mind. She's a teacher. She teaches fitness classes. She's coaches at her school. She has 4 kids, a husband, a house. And like, I've never heard her say, I'm so busy, because that's just not, she's like the most positive person. And I really respect her life. And she is fucking busy all the time, but she never says that. And then other people just go on about how busy they are. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. I feel like maybe like she probably, perhaps she feels balanced and fulfilled. And I feel like when people say, when somebody asks you how you are and you say, I'm busy, I feel like that can come from a place of feeling unbalanced. So maybe what you're actually trying to communicate is, I'm actually really overwhelmed right now by this one area of my life, or multiple areas of my life. Or sometimes it is an ego thing completely. It's like this competition of who's busier, and, you know, who's more successful and whose time is worth more. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel that. Has your journey, we've kind of touched on this a few times. You talked about, having anxiety, not sleeping, kind of the 2 weeks after you put your notice in. We've now talked about, kind of moving away from that hustle mentality. Has this journey been tied to personal development for you as you've moved from working in a creative agency or marketing group to independently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with personal development and self-development. That's just a huge part of my everyday life. Um,
So are we.
yeah. So,
Also Wim Hof, that's part of your
I just
oh,
did it before.
Wim Hof.
so many people we talk to, Caley, tell us their love for Wim Hof, and it's so funny. It's like so ingrained in everyone we talk to right now.
Amazing.
I
I
love it.
only discovered him like a few months ago. I couldn't believe it.
Same.
I'd never heard of him.
No. And he's such like I want to hang out with him and have a beer. He's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And his method, I don't know. I love people who are really doing more, I don't want to say taboo, but they're just pushing the norm. And, like his techniques, there's one with the breathing bubble. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, where you do the 30 deep breaths and then you hold your breath for as long as you can. Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
what type of medical professional or therapist is going to tell you to hold your breath for as long as you can? Like there's potential implications to that, right? And but I just love that he just like goes there, and on the app he like coaches you through, and he's like, your hands might be going numb, that's okay.
This is research though. It's new science. Yeah, it is research. You can go read actual peer-reviewed studies on it.
Yeah, and I love it. Like I think it's so great. It's just anyway, could talk about that a lot too.
So one of the things that you mentioned when we talked on the phone was really your developed this ability to use fear as a growth mechanism.
Using what?
Using fear as a growth mechanism.
Right.
So
yeah.
taking those anxieties, what was that?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always kind of pushed myself towards doing things that scared me. I think for a long time I didn't understand why I was doing them. And I think a lot of the time when I was younger, I think it was just me running away from things or just feeling uncomfortable. But then as I got older, and I would actually say, aside from quitting my 9 to 5, the summer of 2018 for me was a huge, almost epiphany for me in this. So basically, I had gone through a pretty rough breakup, and I was just feeling really awful. I was having some issues, and I was, questioning my self-esteem and all these things. I just felt really lost. And I had remembered seeing or reading somewhere that the quickest way to growth is to face your fears. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And I had been doing that in my life already, but not really so much consciously. And then I looked up at my friend. We were at like a beer garden outside of Vancouver, and I said this to her. I was like, I think this is like what I need to do. Like, I just need to like face something. And she's like, well, what's your biggest fear? And at the time I was like, to be honest, skydiving. And she's like, okay, let's go. So
what a good friend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't believe her. And this friend too is so funny because she's so calm and quiet. And I couldn't tell if she was serious or not. But we went skydiving the next week, and it was probably one of the most amazing experiences of my entire life. And then that moment taught me that usually amazing things are on the other side of fear. And, we can apply this to personal development, relationships, especially. That's a huge place where it comes in. Relationships and everything around that can be very uncomfortable, and you have to push through that. Career, making big decisions. Even for me, I was terrified to move from Vancouver to Halifax. I thought I was going to lose my whole business. I had friends in Halifax saying, well, better start looking for a job here. I'm like, what? Aren't you supposed to be my friend? Like, aren't you supposed to be encouraging me, saying, yeah, you can do it. You can make this work here.
And you do everything online, so it should be pretty transferable.
Yeah, but most of my clients, if not all of them, were in Vancouver at the time. And so there was some fear there. But it's like what you mentioned earlier about regret. And when it came to that in particular, I think if you ever think that you might regret something, like you said, you're better off to just try it, because you can always change it later instead of living with the regret of never trying.
Absolutely.
That's so
Sarah,
cool.
we're not going skydiving.
I've been skydiving. Did you go in Abbotsford? I went.
I did. Yeah, that's where
We did the same place.
No way.
And you can look. I went by myself when I was in Vancouver visiting my sister.
That's amazing.
That's wild.
Yeah, and you
that.
can look at the states when you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
We went the same place. This is a moment.
Yeah. When did you go?
Man, when did my sister leave? I probably went, I couldn't even tell you, like 2015 maybe.
Okay. Wow.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, when I got down though, I threw up after. I realized I get sick from adrenaline. Like I throw up.
Really?
So I was by myself. I like drove myself out. I had to pull over on the side of the road. And like was so sick.
Like you were so amped up.
I get so amped up. I went skeleton racing in Vancouver too, and I threw up after that. So just
That's cool though. I mean, not that you threw up, but that you went skeleton racing.
no, so fun. I love that we went skydiving in the same place. I feel like that's Ashley, you up for it? We can go and
I would probably I think I would skydive. I don't think I'd bungee.
Bungee jumping is terrible. I did that the same summer.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah, I did a lot.
No, I feel like I don't like. I'm just scared of the whatever the bouncing is gonna happen.
know. You're saying it, we're all cringing.
That is justified. It's not fun.
Oh, I love that. Oh. This is so good. Caley, what was the thing that helped you move from Vancouver to Halifax?
So for me, the biggest reason was my father, who is sick. But I think it was really just, again, a moment of having no regrets. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and I'm sure you two are as well, probably. And he has this whole thing about just knowing your why and letting everything else follow that. And I was so scared. My life in Vancouver was amazing. I had it so good there. I had the greatest support group. I had access to all of the activities that I loved. I had such a built up reputation. But I was actually visiting Halifax. I had flown back 3 times over 3 months to decide, just to I was actually renting Airbnbs in Halifax, trying to see if I could actually live here or not. Mm-hmm. And on the last trip that I was here, I was working from Starbucks on Quinpool Road, and I just had this moment. I was sitting there and I had like a flash forward, and it was myself 10 years from now, having not moved back and missing out on that opportunity to be closer while I could have. And that moment of regret did it for me. I made that decision in a split second. As soon as I got back to Vancouver, I started packing, and I was here 3 weeks later.
Crazy. Sometimes those biggest decisions are like the easiest ones to make when you actually like go that deep with the answer or asking questions.
Yeah.
Do you like living in Halifax now? I know Vancouver.
I do.
But are you adjusting?
Yes, I am. It was really hard. I'm not going to lie. It's a huge change. But for the things that you give up, you gain so many other things too. I've only been here about a year, and I feel like I have an amazing community here already. It's unbelievable. And I remember when I first moved back, I I was so giddy because of the way that strangers speak to each other, like on the street and like in stores and stuff. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, this is so cool. And I remember,
so friendly, you mean?
Yeah, it's amazing. And then I remember too, like walking down the street, and there was one time I got too close to the edge of the sidewalk and I looked up and the cars were stopped for me because they thought I was going to cross the street. And that's still something that I can't get over, is just that, like, if cars think you're going to cross the street, they just stop for you.
That's probably very true.
Like in Vancouver, even if you're at like the crosswalk and you have the walk sign, you have to like triple check before you cross.
You're dead if you cross them. There's
People have
cars going.
places to go.
Yeah. And there's so many like small things about Halifax. And I mean, I love seeing Halifax grow too. And it's growing in such a way that I think it's not really losing anything that it had. Whereas, you know, I was in Vancouver for 10 years and I saw it gentrify so much in those 10 years. And it lost so much of what it started out with. It essentially wiped out the entire population of like the whole artist community and all of that. And I think that Halifax has a really great sense of the importance of culture, community, arts, all these things that really contribute to a fully well-rounded city.
Love that.
That's awesome. Well, this has been so great, but I have one final question, Sarah, and I'd like to ask all of our guests. We just want to know what lights you up right now. What are you excited about?
Oh, what am I excited about? In relation to
Could be anything.
It could be anything.
Oh, so much possibility. I'm really bad with small decisions like this. So this is where I start, like, you know, like moving across the country, fine. Deciding what to eat for lunch, it's anyway, I think right now, I think I'm just honestly really excited for possibility. I enjoy the time we're in right now just to see what happens, you know, as things, and hopefully things can continue to reopen, and hopefully we don't get this devastating second wave of COVID and all this. And with that, I'm just really excited to see how people have taken this time and have transformed their lives. I think, as you mentioned earlier, it's such a unique opportunity where everybody's lives have been shaken up and, you know, in some ways not good. There's been a lot of devastation because of this. There's been a lot of people who are dealing with tragedies, but there's also people who have been put in situations that are causing them to question what it is they really want. And I also think there's been a lot of situations, especially in Nova Scotia, that have brought us closer together. So I'm really curious to see what happens when things become more reopen, how that translates into you know, people's day-to-day lives. I want to see the community flourish more. I want to see my friends flourish more. I want to see people just get amped up for life, you know? So I think that's what lights me up, is just waiting to see what happens and the positive changes that come out of this.
Oh, my heart.
And I feel like the city is just going to explode once things get back to normal. Everyone's just going to be so fired up, which is full of possibilities for everyone.
I know we're not allowed, but I just can't wait to touch everyone, which is also, I shouldn't be allowed to say ever, but I just want to like run through a crowd of people.
Sarah's a big hugger.
You should just do that thing where you stand on the, like the corner with the sign that says like free hug. Just like hug everyone.
But then they'll know that I started the second wave. They'll be like, this is the girl. She stands here every day.
Like after that, just maybe wear like a full suit or something.
We'll mask you, love you, put goggles on you.
I know. I'm just like, I'm gonna touch everyone. Everyone just avoid me. I'm just joking. Oh my gosh, Caley, it's been so fun to have you. Before we wrap, though, it's a very important part of the show. You've never heard of it, but we play Westigrams, which is a made-up game, so it's all good. Okay. Super easy. I mean, we're not in person, so we still play the virtual game now. All you do is pick a number between 1 and 87. And I'm going to read you a question. Then we'll go around in a circle. We'll all answer one.
Okay, cool. I'm going to choose 17.
17. Ooh. Here we go. What's your favorite 5-cent candy?
That's a tough one. I love candy. I would say if I had to choose, like the little, you can get them for 5 cents anymore, but like sour soothers, like sour
keys.
Yes.
Sour keys. Yes.
Yeah. So good. I saw that you're doing a no sugar June. So sorry to bring up the,
God love you.
Sorry?
That's amazing. I said, God love you. That's amazing.
I did it in October and I made it through. But you know what? My landlords almost sabotaged me. They're so cute, but they, on October 31st, so Halloween, on everybody's doors, they had bags of candy. And I'm not going to lie, I stayed up until midnight so I could eat it.
That's dedication.
Respect. I would do that too. I wouldn't make it. Who am I kidding?
No, you
Ashley,
wouldn't.
pick a number.
34.
Okay. Unless this is a really good one, I'm just gonna give you a new question based on inspiration from Caley.
Okay.
What was your worst hotel experience?
Mine?
Your
It was
scariest hotel moment.
It was in Paris. And I wouldn't say it was scary, but it was just not what I would ever want to stay in again. The walls were paper thin. We could hear our neighbors. I was also sharing a room with my best friend and my brother, and people were having sex like every night for like it sounded like it was something out of a movie. They definitely came from they were speaking a different language, but I mean, I feel like they were on a different time zone completely because they were up all night. So we didn't sleep. So, and the hotel was not nice.
I love that. You gotta love the European hotels. They're always hit and miss.
You don't know what it was like, fine, but not what you're used to in North America by any stretch.
I love that. All right. I'm going to go with 23 for some reason. The genie gives you one wish. What is it? Well, I actually have one very honest wish, but I'm going to go with I'd really love a pedicure. The other thing that I really want right now, I mean, we could go deep. I go with
I thought you were going to go
That's
deep.
great. It's great. I was expecting you to say that you'd like wish that COVID would be over, but you know.
Yeah, I was thinking
I don't
something
want
about
to
like
put that on me.
racism or cancer.
Oh no, do you know what I want? Oh my God, guys, come on. No, I want to be able to run through a crowd of people and touch them all.
There we go.
That's no, actually no. See, this is why you go with your gut, because now I'm on to a new thing. Gut. What I want is to go to a rave and like a festival with hundreds of thousands of people and just dance.
And get a pedicure before you go.
Get a pedicure on the way.
I love it.
That's what I want.
Oh, you never know what's going to happen.
We should have just stuck with the pedicure. Anyways, great. We should never end with me. Just sort of let me with the pedicure. Oh my gosh, Caley, this has been so great to get to know you better and learn about you and everything that you're doing. It's lovely to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much, Caley.